Hey, hi Thimaya. Welcome to Beyond the Title podcast.
Hey Shri, how's it going?
Going well. How about you? Thanks for joining.
Yep, of course. Happy to join.
Yeah,
Happy Saturday.
happy Saturday to you as well. I'll just briefly tell you what the podcast is about. You know how there are so many
Okay.
job titles, and like we know each other for over 10 years now, and we often wonder what goes behind these job titles. So,
Yeah.
for people like us, I want to give idea as to what different titles mean, what goes behind those job titles, and what does routine of people holding those job titles look like. And you
Right.
being my friend for over 10 years and been working as senior consultant at Deloitte, I wanted to start with you. So why don't you go ahead and explain us about how does your day-to-day at Deloitte look like as senior consultant?
I mean, there's a lot that happens, but I'll try to summarize it as much as I can. So I'm in the process optimization space. So essentially, what we do, as a team, or we are part of the Center for Process Bionics team. What we do is we go to different clients, majorly finance institutions, and we try to optimize their business processes. It could be as simple as how they onboard, say, a client or a customer, to how they offboard somebody. So it's very basic, but I think the principle is to capture the steps so that they can automate or remove redundancies, or kind of improve their overall processing. So in Deloitte, day to day, there's a lot of calls, infinite number of calls that we have to be on, a lot of tracking that we do, as part of consulting, service-oriented companies. And of course, client time, we need to be on those calls with those clients to understand what they do. And, we have like an interview session with them. We ask them a bunch of questions, and then we kind of document all of those, on the process maps or process flows.
Nice.
So that's essentially what, and yeah,
For someone trying to put themselves in your shoes, when you talk about
yeah,
calls, how many calls in a day do you have to be part of?
man, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It depends.
Wow.
Sometimes jump off calls and be on other calls. I mean, we also have to prioritize. We might be booked on 4, 5 calls at the same time.
Yeah.
Then we need to prioritize, what we need to be on, which is more important, which is not important. And, if we can delegate some work to somebody to be on the call and then give us a download later on. So there's a lot of, time management. There's a lot of resource management, prioritizing what you need to do. So, yeah.
Nice. Nice. So how do you manage being on so many calls? How do you plan your day? How do you ensure that you are being most productive on so many calls throughout the day?
So to begin with, uh, you don't really get so many calls. You're given certain tasks when you start off in a project. You aren't bombarded with all the calls.
Yeah.
It's only when you start getting more, or you're getting more involved in things, that you start getting included in calls. So as you grow into a project, as you get more experience, you kind of understand which calls you need to be on, versus which calls you can skip. So typically, any client calls are the ones that we try not to skip. If there's a conflict within the client calls, then we need to make sure that we're delegating the calls that we'll be skipping to somebody else who can later give us a download.
Great. And you mentioned something interesting. You mentioned business processes. For someone
Yeah.
starting their career or aspiring to be in a business process optimization space like you are, what would you recommend would be a good starting point? And what are skills required to develop a career in this space?
I think the most basic thing that somebody would need is understanding of BPMN, business process model notations. You don't need to have an education per se. Like any particular person with any educational background can become a process optimization engineer, or a process manager, or BPM consultant, for that matter. So I think knowing the principles of BPMN, and also understanding certain tools, you can, there are lots of whole bunch of tools available. They're free tools, they're paid tools. So maybe get try to understand the tool. Essentially, the principle is the same across all different tools. So if you have basic understanding of business process model notations and you know a certain tool, you're good to enter the space.
Got it. And in terms of optimizing these processes, how you go about doing that? Do you start with what the existing process look like, and just the walkthrough of how the whole optimization of process evolves would be really helpful for the viewers.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty simple. You know, the whole point of doing this is to make things simple. Like the whole agenda of this entire exercise that we do is to make it simple so anybody can understand, right? So I think the first step for us is to identify what currently is happening. Once we've identified the current steps, that's when we try to interpret where there might be roadblocks or where there might be repeating tasks or redundancies or the tasks that are not required or too many manual steps involved. Then we come in with solutions based on whatever we have available as a firm. We come back, we recommend those solutions to the client, and then we work on a to be kind of a model, where they want to be and how they can save either time, money, or scope or effort, whatever of that stuff.
Got it. And in terms of recommending these solutions to these large clients, what works and what doesn't work? Any idea around that? Any tip or any guideline as to how should you go about making recommendations to large organizations?
Even those, because Deloitte, the firm has been in business for the last 175 plus years. So, there's a lot of historical data that comes along with this firm, right? If you when you join this company or join this firm, you have so much data behind you to back you.
Right.
So I feel like there is enough historical data for us to utilize and to kind of take advantage of when we go and recommend something. So for example, we get a new client now. We have so much data from previous clients that we utilize that information to kind of give references of what we've done or what works for that particular industry versus another industry.
Got it.
Yeah.
For someone who's newly starting their career, uh, what what are traits that would suggest that consulting is your area, or consulting is area where you should explore your career? What are few initial signals that someone should take a cognizance of while deciding consulting?
I think consulting is all about communicating. How well you're able to communicate or make somebody understand something, or how do you navigate certain situations. Empathy is a very important thing. When you're dealing with so many people, you have to be very empathetic. Understand people, manage people. Be out there. Networking is major. Like a key thing that you need to have a trait. Yeah, I think communicating is the biggest thing that one can have, and a basic technical acumen is anybody in today's age where we're all into technology, into our phones. Everybody knows how technology works, so I don't think that that is a problem for today's generation.
Great to know that.
Yeah.
What does the career ladder of a consultant look like at Deloitte? How do you start, and what is the ceiling that you could reach to?
So I'm part of Deloitte USI. We are part of the US's office in India. So I think it starts off from analysts. You could also join as an intern, and then probably get on as an analyst and grow up till a managing director.
Great. And of the friends that you have made at work, after they leave Deloitte, where do they go? What career paths do they explore? What are future prospects after working as a consultant at Deloitte?
Uh, I feel like typically people jump around the consulting big fours, unless they want to explore something new and get into a product role, product company. But it's typically jumping around the big fours. Like I've seen a lot of people go out to Deloitte, get into say a Ernst and Young, or come in from a PwC, or come in from say a KPMG. So it's mostly around this because it's easy to jump around consulting. It's very similar, the culture, the how the company functions as a whole. So it's easy to jump between consultings, but of course, I mean, consulting is a different world, and product firms are a different world altogether.
I see. Is it fair to say that some of the skills such as empathy, communication, cross-functional collaboration, are transferable and they help in shifting into various trades such as product management, then business analysis, and other areas that you could possibly venture from consulting. Is it fair to say that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, these skills are good to have in any industry, I would say. But it's more important for consulting because we deal with so many people here.
Great. Now, when we talk about day-to-day routine of a consultant, and like you mentioned, communication is key, and understanding processes is a key. It might sound oversimplistic. So I also wanted to
Yeah.
understand, like, what are major challenges of your job? What makes it difficult that viewers should know?
I think right now, what difficulty I am facing is managing time zones, because we are, part of or an extension of the US entity. You know, we work with clients who are not in India.
Yeah,
So I am currently located in India. We're dealing with clients all over the globe, probably a little more in the US. So managing the time zone is kind of a challenge. Your sleep cycle is all messed up, and sometimes you need to be on late in the night. Sometimes you start early in the morning. So I think that is kind of a challenge which could be a deterrent for some people who want to join.
interesting. And is it specific to your location? Like, is it specific to India being a location, or would it be a problem no matter where you are working for Deloitte?
It would be a problem no matter where you are because we work with global firms who are located all over the world. If I'm lucky, I'm working with a client who's located in India, but the head office or the headquarters might not be in India. So it's usually multinational firms that we work with, and somebody who's sitting in the US could be working with somebody in Australia. There'll be a huge time difference. So I think it doesn't matter where you are. As long as you're working with global firms, managing time is a challenge.
Interesting. And as a senior consultant at Deloitte, how many clients are you catering to at a point? So right now, how many projects are you working on? Which amount to how many clients?
The expectation is to be probably prioritize a single client more,
Yeah,
and then maybe slowly as you grow up or as you go up the ladder, be involved in other projects as well. So currently I am with two clients,
got it.
and yeah.
Nice. Uh, with the advent of AI and so many new tools that are coming up, such as Cloud A, ChatGPT, and this Cursor, which has fine-tuned the development aspect of things. Is there any specific tool that you have been using lately that has helped you from the process optimization standpoint that you could recommend the viewers?
I mean, we're using IBM Blueworks, which is already, kind of automated in certain ways. Like we don't have to manually go and, drag and drop elements on a process map. It kind of does it automatically.
I see.
But yeah, essentially, everything that we do, is feeding AI, and maybe a couple of more years, AI will be able to do everything that we do. It's all about asking questions and documenting what sort of responses we get, and then obviously, once we have a process mapped out, we can make changes, make tweaks, and and all of that can be automated. So I wouldn't be surprised if AI takes over this role completely in the future.
That's very interesting, man. So you are saying an AI tool like IBM Bluework could essentially create a process on its own, which is fair. Uh, but do you think this job would then still be around, or do you think it would be around but in different shape and form? And if so, what would be that?
I would say it depends. I don't think if AI becomes open source and available to every single person on this planet,
Yeah,
then yes, it's fair to say that this role is done for, and AI can take over completely. But I don't think that's the case. I feel like AI comes with a price tag, and not everybody might have access to it. So yeah, there will always be scope, for this role.
interesting. And talking about this tool specifically, IBM Blueworks, is that the right tool you said? So,
Yes.
talking about this tool, what's so special about it? Does it retain all the context and create processes on its own, or is it easy to use? What's so special about this tool that other tools aren't being able to cater to?
I think the best feature that I find is collaboration. like multiple folks can work on a single process together at the same time. So that is a very interesting kind of feature on this tool. Apart from that, maybe aligning certain elements happens automatically, so you're not wasting your time doing that. Uh, and yeah, I mean, maybe how you document stuff, how you add attributes to each step that you capture. All of that is very straightforward
I
and
see.
easy to use. So anybody, maybe spend a day, 2 days, and get their hands dirty with the tool should be able to use that tool.
Interesting. Does it come up with process recommendation on its own that you need to approve as someone making the edits, or you're still create it on your own from scratch?
No, no, you do have, you can give entitlements to different people. Like
Hmm.
somebody can only be able to read them versus somebody can, read and edit processes.
I see. Interesting. But the tool itself, is it able to create new process graph or new process chart on its own, or are you able to sort of feed it just like you would do with traditional tools?
No, we need to give the basic, steps.
Yeah,
So there's one called, it's called, I'm not sure what exactly it's called, but you have, a step where you add these boxes. So you're not really making a process, but you're just adding in certain steps. And then when you click on, create a blueprint or create a process, it auto creates it. And then
in-
maybe you can do a little adjustments in the alignment or, in the sequencing, etc.
interesting. Uh, do you foresee a feature foresee a future wherein this tool or any other tool for that matter will be able to create this whole process by itself, and it would potentially better than human being could do it? Do you see something like that happening in future?
Certainly. I mean, I don't see it right now, but I'm sure in the future that could be a possibility.
Interesting.
Once maybe say a chat integrated with this tool.
Interesting. So for someone early in their career trying to pursue the role that you're already pursuing, what would be your advice in terms of developing their career as a consultant or senior consultant at Deloitte, or let's say any other consulting firm?
I think my advice would be stay open, stay curious, ask a lot of questions. Nobody knows everything, and nobody is truly a champion of a certain industry. So everybody is new. It's an ever evolving industry. Everything that we do is always changing, right? So people come in, people leave. Technologies change.
Right.
So I feel the most important trait for somebody who's joining in is to stay open, to stay curious, to ask questions, and yeah, you're good to go.
Great. Thanks, Simea. Thanks for your time. A pleasure interacting with you.